Hi, I'm here in Redfern today to talk a little bit about public housing. Now this is 600 Elizabeth Street, which is fully government owned public housing land, and it used to have 18 public housing units on the site until about 10 years ago when the government demolished them all. And in the 10 years since then, there have been various plans and consultations, and then finally a few weeks ago the government said, guess what? We're going to sell it all. We're going to sell it to a private developer, and in return we're only going to get 30% public housing on the site. This is totally wrong and unacceptable. We demand 100% public housing on this site. Now, why is this such a serious problem? Of course, we all know the housing affordability problem is totally out of control in Australia. Rental affordability, totally out of control. It's all due to totally wrong government policies that seek to sell off public housing. We have gone from 6% public housing in Australia to only 3% in the last 40 years. And that is a big part of the explanation of why housing has become so expensive. The government, if they are the developer, then we don't need to charge so much rent. We don't need to make a profit, unlike private developers do, and that can keep costs down. So what can we do? We really got to get involved more and more in locally driven campaigns. Now, on the weekend here, I was involved in a barbecue organised by Action for Public Housing, but then at the last minute, I couldn't come because I was in COVID isolation. But I wanted to come here to express my strong support for this campaign and suggest to everybody out there that you get involved in whatever way you can in supporting public housing in your area. Now, Action for Public Housing has a petition online. I'll put it in the chat down below. You can go and sign to call for 100% public housing on this site. And we need to get involved in resident organisations. We bring people together in Action for Public Housing. We bring together Red Watch. We bring together Friends of Erskineville, Hands Off Glebe, Shelter New South Wales. The Maritime Union of Australia chipped in. And we were able to put on barbecues, provide free barbecues and have a few speeches and raise awareness. So we need more effort. We need more letterboxing, more posters. We've been doing meetings, we're writing articles, we're holding public forums. It's all helping, and it's having a big impact. When we've had some successes, like for example, Explorer Street, Everleigh, the proposal to demolish the public housing there has now been deleted from the government's website. The demolition of public housing in Franklin Street, Glebe, has also been delayed. So we're able to keep on fighting a bit more there. Cowper Street, Glebe. This campaign managed to win. We managed to get 100% public housing on that site and increase it from about, I think it was around 20 public homes to now 75 public homes. So, we're having an impact. Oh, another thing we notice is that this whole privatisation model, which the government calls Communities Plus, which they were very proud about 7 years ago, after we started protesting a lot last year, that website of the government has now gone down, and they're embarrassed about Communities Plus because it's all about selling off public housing and not putting a single cent of our taxpayer money into good public housing. And we also managed to get a win on inclusionary zoning, where developers will have to pay 3 or 6% of the value of new apartment developments into a fund with the City of Sydney that will help to fund affordable housing. It's not massive, but it's a step forward, and our campaigns are really having a positive impact to achieve this. I do believe that to take it to the next level, we probably need to build a national coalition of public housing campaigners and then start calling for what in America they're calling a Green New Deal for public housing, and we really need to support that. Now, you might go, well, what's climate change got to do with public housing? It has a real lot to do with it. You only need to see the homelessness that's being caused by the climate catastrophe after the floods in Lismore and other places, displacement from fires and so on. And a big way that we can reduce carbon emissions is by locating new homes, public houses, close to transport, close to where people work. That's why it's no good selling off public housing in the inner city and putting people far out on the urban fringe, where they will have to commute by car and pay tolls and have a high carbon, car dependent lifestyle out on the urban fringe. We need to have public housing located in good areas that are close to transport and jobs. And those places, well, usually they're too expensive for a lot of people. So we need universal public housing, like Barney Gardner's talking about from Millers Point. Universal public housing for everybody, where you would only need to pay, 20-25% of your income in rent. This would go a long way to restoring housing affordability and addressing the climate crisis. So get involved.